Welcome back to the Chelsea Roar, the Chelsea show by a fan for you, the fans. And today, I do have a fellow Chelsea fan on, Mr. Carl Kingwoe, one of my right-hand men. Carl, welcome to your first appearance to the Chelsea Roar, my brother.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be on.
Thanks for being here. And a familiar face that people will know from the Dynamo podcast network. He is the host of about 1,000 shows. He is the Dean Malenko of podcasting. He is the man of 1,004 podcasts. You're a Liverpool fan, my friend, our friend, and yours, Mr. Niall, the shopkeeper Hogan. Niall, welcome to the show.
How are we, man? I'm suffering a little bit. I'm only back from Liverpool and we had a heavy all weekend.
Was it good? Yeah.
It was very, very good.
Niall was over at Brighton at Anfield during the week, or at the weekend, should I say. So he's been very, very kind enough to come back and talk because he is Mr. Football and he loves football, has no prejudice. But he's decided to come on the show today and chat a little bit about Chelsea.
Even brought on a blue glass for the night that's in it.
You
full of pure vodka. just to get him. He's still on the hair of the dog.
What a weekend.
Lads, let's start. Obviously, I've done the relaunch of the Chelsea Roar. Thank you everybody, by the way, on Twitter who has been kind enough to kind of reach out and stuff. I know we're still minimal numbers on Twitter. It takes a while to build that up, but it's grown nicely. And most importantly, it's some very important people within the Chelsea realm that are kind of reaching out and saying that we've done a good job. So thank you for anybody that has viewed or commented and all that good stuff. We'll give you all the links at the end. And we'll go. But most importantly, I've done a review, a preview, should we say, on Newcastle. And we'll get to the other stuff that we talked about with the contract situation with pretty much most of our backline. But first and foremost, we should talk about the weekend. And we would be remiss to talk about Chelsea without talking about other results that went in Chelsea's favour. Niall, it's your job usually to review the whole weekend in terms of bottom, middle, and top. This was a huge weekend for the top three and also United. And I mean that. Talk to me a little bit about, because obviously you were at the game.
The Liverpool game, of course.
Yeah, at the Liverpool-Brighton game, as we said, at Anfield. And great seats, by the way. Glad that you and all your friends and your son, your kid got to go with you as well, which is always a great experience, regardless.
That's cool.
Yeah. I have to say, after I saw the Chelsea result, I wasn't rooting for you, but you knew going into that obviously it's a must-win game at home. You have to win your home games, right?
Yep.
When you heard that Chelsea were away to Newcastle and basically, sucked the soul out of them to win 3-0. I think that Alan Shearer said it best. Chelsea sucked the soul out of Newcastle, and what Alan Shearer said was the scariest part about it was no Lukaku, no Werner, no Mount, no Pulisic. There's a pattern forming here with Chelsea, isn't there?
Yeah, I think looking at it, what I thought was weird about Saturday was you had so many high-level games, but all kicking off at 3:00.
Yeah.
So there was no, you know what I mean? Because
old school.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird. So there I was sitting there at half-time. I wouldn't say totally content because we had given up a goal right before half-time, which was crazy. But we were top of the league and Chelsea were 0-0 with Newcastle and City were getting slapped up by Crystal Palace. So I was thinking, this could be a great weekend altogether. This could really top it off, So then about 10 minutes after half time, all of a sudden we were level and under the cosh. Yous were sprinting away like a dog out of the greyhound traps, as you do. And Man City were still getting slapped up by Crystal Palace. So it wasn't ideal. But I've said it, as I said all along, in terms of the league season this year. I think it's going to be a two-horse race. I think City will focus on the Champions League and they will let things slide. Not so much, but they won't.
They done that last year as well, to be fair. Just saying.
But I think with Chelsea, I think it is ominous, and you do have to stay right up against you because you're not going to drop too many points. And I did say that the league will be decided on the games between the top 6, not typically what you do outside of that. And I just thought for us, it did feel like a defeat. But to be honest, getting out of there with a point, we were very lucky, to be honest, because we could have lost. And I'd rather the gap be 3 points than 4 points because it makes it that bit more difficult.
And I like bringing you on, Noel, for that reason, because you are quite an honest football fan, and that's what we're trying to portray.
Down the middle,
Carol, obviously you have a different perspective on it here. You're a fellow Chelsea brother.
Absolutely.
Talk to me.
I'm of course, initially not fully. Now I was worried that there was no Lukaku or Werner. You know what I mean? But look, the lads can score goals, and it's obvious that I honestly was I was a bit worried because normally we struggle a bit against Newcastle.
We do.
We do. So, and then it was like half time. The lad was like, but the lads, I mean, they composed themselves, and as you said, they did suck the life out of them. It was great to see.
Yeah.
I was very, very shocked with that Man City result. But like you said, Niall, they were probably resting players, were they, for the Champions League?
They weren't necessarily, no.
No, I mean, Foden and all was playing. I'll tell you now, actually. But
no, I didn't see those highlights.
Noel's looking for the team sheet. I mean, essentially, Man City can use whatever excuse they want. Like at the end of the day, they can say they're concentrating on the Champions League, because Pep needs to win it for his own ego. I don't see that happening under City. I really don't. Especially with how strong Chelsea are grown and how Liverpool are grown. And now you've got, we know that the takeover with Newcastle has happened. It's just a matter of time. I was talking to my dad today, and he said all it takes is that one signing that's just a little bit older, similar to what you were saying, Noel. A little bit older, and then that attracts, the rest. It's a bit of an effect. But then,
did you think it starts with the appointment of
the now, Carl, as you hear, are a potential takeover. Victims, if you want to call them that, or alumni.
I don't think a West Ham takeover would be victims. I mean, there's victims there that own it already, isn't there?
That's true. But so I mean, this whole City thing to me is it's old now. I think a young manager came through a younger manager and a newer, a more modern manager came through last season and showed Pep what's what. So they can concentrate on that all they want. I still think you could see a Liverpool Chelsea final in the Champions League, if I'm being honest. I don't think City are going to be there, and I think because they want it that much more, they're not going to get it. Maybe I'm wrong, but they need to prove me wrong.
I think in the difference between our team under Tuchel versus PSG under Tuchel, I mean, they really were just individuals, you know what I mean? Whereas our team is like stars, but they're playing as a team, and they're playing for the manager. They're playing for they're actually playing for the badge. I feel, especially the likes of Aspie and even Alonso.
Thiago Silva has been a huge part of that dressing room as well.
So there's no way that defense is a weak defense, really.
Oh, we'll get onto that. We'll get onto that later on. Don't worry. There's a certain ginger that we'll call out later on who's an awful toe sucker. But Niall, I mean, for you, obviously, you are our closest rivals in Liverpool, and obviously the game that we had away at Anfield. For me personally, I'm just going to say it from my perspective, and then I'll pass it over to you. That was a huge showing of unity for me as a Chelsea fan, because a half time when Reece James, and what a difference a couple of weeks makes to go from 0 to like literally now you're looking at hero. And I know you're a huge Reece fan. To go away to Anfield, but to be 10 men for a whole half and literally frustrate the life out of Liverpool. And as you said at the time, people forget this, probably had the best chances on the counter-attack, which is always going to happen. In fairness, counter-attack, I understand that's counter-attack football. you get your battalion and you go hell for leather, and then you can get caught sleeping a little bit. That's normal. It doesn't mean we played the better football, but that unity between that team, I suppose that's probably something that you look at and kind of have a lot of kind of, I suppose,
admiration for.
Yeah, you but admiration, but also you can relate to it with the Liverpool squad. Like,
yeah, well, it's the foundation from what Liverpool's recent success has been built on. It's all about unity and team and fighting for each other and all that. But I just think that day, I mean, I think Reece was hard done by. I don't think he went to zero. I think the Chelsea fans realised it was a shitty call by the ref, but had to be done. And I think it spoiled what could have been a really, really good game. I'm not saying we would have ran out winners. I'm not saying you would have ran out winners. You looked more powerful 11 versus 11 on the day. But I think it spoiled what could have been a really, really good game. And I did say it on the day before the game in a preview. I said that this is one of these early season title deciders, because I really believe, I think the level that you guys are operating on, Carl said that the competition for the badge and stuff like that. But I mean, you've literally a stand-in replacement in every position nearly for your squad. Yeah. So there's no, like, when guys get into that team, they have to fight to stay in that team. And Tuchel is strong enough to know that, like, if a guy isn't performing, bring in the next guy. It's just like a cog on a wheel. Bring in the next guy. Bring in the next guy.
You actually said that to me on a phone call the other week, Noel, didn't you, about Callum Hudson-Odoi? Say that now, because actually I remember what you said. Like, he came out in a press conference and said something about Callum Hudson-Odoi, remember?
Yeah, well, he told him he was getting an opportunity to step up, and as you know, he came onto the pitch and I think he scored after 5 minutes or so. What a statement to send to Tuchel that week when we were looking at it. But the point I made is, like, these German coaches, Klopp and Tuchel, they're so alike. They're like mirror images of each other in the way that they operate. They don't suffer fouls gladly. They don't tolerate kind of crap. They're ruthless in the way that they operate. But it's for the betterment of the squad. They're not ruthless in a way where they fall out with players. You know, like other clubs, like you know, when Pep got ruthless with Raheem Sterling, and now there's no relationship there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of inspiring Raheem Sterling to become that better player that he should be, he wants out. You know what I mean? Because Grealish.
Antonio Conte with Diego Costa.
Yeah.
You know, that ruined what could have been a really good long career for Costa with us, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a different thing, because I mean, you couldn't even say hello to Costa and he'd probably fall out with you.
Yeah.
You love it though, don't you?
Yeah. he was a bit of a fucking nut job. But I love him.
But look, you can see what Tuchel's doing there. Like, he's an outstanding coach. You knew when you were bringing him in, he was an outstanding coach. I mean, just look at the picture there behind me and see how happy those boys are. And if you look at the collection of boys that's in that picture there, and just look at the job he's done on those guys. Look at Barkley there in the middle.
I was about to say Ross Barkley, whose career was all but ended with Chelsea. Yeah. You know, you're looking at lower.
Even when he was brought back in, Chelsea fans were saying, "What the hell is he doing?" And then all of a sudden he unleashes this guy who's another, like a Lukaku, a trimmed down figure who looks like he wants to boss things. Hudson-Odoi back in there, brings back in Loftus-Cheek. Like, it's just, Chelsea are flying at the moment. There's no doubt about it. And like, it's, you know, I mean, even at halftime the other day when I seen it was 0-0, I was going, they're just patiently waiting for their chance to break them down. It's not an issue. Like,
it's like a shark in the water, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. No, whereas, you know, with Man City potentially have that thing in them where they might drop points to a Palace or a Southampton or one of these teams. You know, it just happens every so often. Tottenham slapped them up and all, you know what I mean? So, like, they will do that, whereas you won't see that happening to a Chelsea, and you generally don't see it happening to a Liverpool, you know?
Do you think the fact that he's got that collection of English boys in there as well, that's a big thing, because it's kind of similar to when Mourinho first came around, isn't it? You've got that collection of English boys that, I mean, let's be real, on form, we have the two best wing-backs probably anywhere in Reece James and Ben Chilwell. I mean, on form, the two boys are.
On form, yeah. On form.
You know, I'm not saying, you know, this isn't a debate of who's better or, you know, FIFA ratings or any of that nonsense. It's just literally on form. These two boys are absolutely flying. And I mean, one's a Chelsea project, obviously, Reece James. Chilwell basically has just committed to it. I mean, we talked about Chilwell earlier on the upper tier now, and how I was kind of frustrated that was Marcus Alonso getting his chance. But it's like, this is kind of what these managers do, isn't it? They make you wait and they say, right, if you're willing to step up to the plate, come on in. There's plenty of food at the table. Like,
I think if they have enough players in the squad, they do like to rotate them, you know,
which is a good thing.
I think so.
And I think Niall,
which is
the difference with your.
It's unusual
team,
as well. Yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think with us, it's slightly different because Klopp at times has been hesitant to rotate to a fault. And you even seen it in the Brighton game there the other day, his hesitation in terms of making the substitutions. He made them quite late, bringing Jota on and giving them 15 minutes trying to get in the game and stuff like that. But I think it's just a way about, I mean, sometimes they do things in a certain way that's bewildering to you. And then other times they just show their brilliance. And it's not always obvious, you know what I mean? But they always have an eye on something else, you know what I mean? Like when you think about those games at the weekend, they'll always be thinking towards the Atletico game, or I'm not sure if Chelsea got Juventus or Malmo again. So he's always looking towards that as well. He's not necessarily always in the moment, you know. They always have to think way ahead and stuff like that and all, you know. So I just think it's just one of those things with them. They're different level, and that's why I said at the start of the season I think it'd be a 2-horse race. And you could see the way the matches have panned out. You've been operating at a different level. You kind of had a slight little blip, but very little at all. You know what I mean? Yeah. We had a blip as well, but it's a different level when you go in. When you really go into the battle and you're in there against a United or a City or whatever it is, that's when you will rise up. And I know you had a bad result against City, but I mean, that was just a very bad day at the office. And as you said, Ian Tuchel that day kind of got it wrong.
He did.
And you can allow that. That can happen.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't mind losing against those teams, though. It's against the Burnleys and that kind of stuff. If you feck up there, that's when, you know, they're the games you need to be getting the 3 points on. You know, like a big high-profile match, it's not a nice one to take. But if it happens, it happens. Not all the time, obviously, though. You know what I mean?
I think what Niall's saying as well, though, it's very true, because like we need to win our big games. I think this year it will boil down to at Stamford Bridge that wasn't acceptable, and I think Tuchel accepted that it wasn't acceptable.
Yeah, he came out himself. He came out himself and accepted responsibility for it. Yeah.
You know, and it's a breath of fresh air to have a manager that actually blames himself instead of because we've always had the Contes and the Mourinhos that eventually turn on the players and the players turn on him. He's basically said, no, okay, got it wrong. And he's, you know, I just want to say one thing, and lads, you can chime in on this as well, because there is one player I want to talk about who is a personal favourite of mine, and he's starting to get the recognition that he deserves. It's Reuben Loftus-Cheek. I think his management of Reuben Loftus-Cheek and his game time management of Reuben Loftus-Cheek has been phenomenal. It's like he's not playing him every game and he gives him a few minutes here and there to make an impact. And every time he comes on, he's making an impact. I mean, we all saw his goal, his run, winning the ball back to bring it forward and help Mason Mount get his hat-trick against Norwich. And some people will say, oh, well, it's only against Norwich. But look, no one else has beaten Norwich 7-0. So, you know, that's there's horses for courses here. But I'd like, Carl, you talk about Loftus-Cheek personally, because I personally think he has the potential now to really make that position his own ahead of players like Kovacic if he wants.
Yeah, well, I think he's the future. You know, because Kovacic isn't going to be there for much longer. I'm not saying he's older, but
well, he's only 27 and he only signed a 5-year deal last year. So in fairness,
or I could see Loftus-Cheek being the mainstay in that position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got the strength, and he has the football brain as well.
Do you not think he's everything that a United fan wants Pogba to be?
Yeah, absolutely.
As in that driving central midfielder that just pushes people off. Niall, what do you reckon?
I don't think he is, because I think most United fans want Pogba out the door.
Yeah, they probably want Loftus-Cheek in.
No, I think with Loftus-Cheek, I know Carl said there that he'd be a mainstay, but I think it's a different environment when you're at Chelsea's level or Liverpool's level. There is no mainstay. He'll just turn around and he'll just switch out and change whatever suits his formation, what he wants that day, who he's up against. He looks in that midfield, who those boys are up against. But the way he manages people, it's very simple. He serves you up the starter to see how much you want the main course. And he does it all the time. And you see it with Hudson-Odoi, but you'll see it all over the pitch. You've seen it with Mount. You've seen it with Hudson-Odoi. You've seen it with Loftus-Cheek. You've seen it with Werner, Pulisic. You've seen it with Alonso. Chilwell. He does it with all of them, and it generates that hunger that guys now. Like, you can imagine what training sessions are like with these boys, looking towards a Wednesday game or a Saturday game or whatever it is. They're probably on fire and training. They're probably kicking lumps out of each other and training, trying to get on that team sheet. That team sheet is like the holy grail. Yeah. And especially for Chelsea, where Chelsea could field 2 Premier League 11s and probably make 2 top 4s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the competition that's there. It's incredible, the competition that's there.
Another player I want to bring up, I know we talked about Ross Barkley. I'm going to do a special on Ross Barkley soon. Myself, my own, just looking at his journey and looking at like how happy he is now as well, because you can see it in him. He's delighted to be part of it again, you know. But one player that's in that shot is Andreas Christensen, and we call him the Danish Maldini. And not for no reason, because, you know, Mr. Alex Ferguson used to like to call people like, what was his name? Boxhead that they bought for Blackburn, Maldini. What's his name? He's still there.
David May, wasn't it?
Not Harry Maguire. He's still there.
Oh,
Noel, you know who I'm talking about.
Phil Jones, is it not?
Phil Jones. There we go. Phil Jones. Yeah, he said he was a player that was the most like Maldini that he's seen, and I'm like, good Lord. But we like to joke as Chelsea fans and call Andreas Christensen the Danish Maldini. How good has he become under Tuchel? I mean, he looked a bit lightweight for me when he was under Lampard. You know what I mean? It was like anyone could brush him off the ball. It was just kind of. I wonder, has this signing of Thiago Silva been a stroke of genius by the club to bring him in and what he's done to the surrounding players? Because I'd also put in Chalobah into that with Andreas Christensen. What you reckon, Carl?
Yeah, I think like all of Chelsea fans, we were a bit iffy about Christensen, but when he turns up to play, like you said, he is like a Maldini. He really, really is. And
silky on the ball, isn't he?
I love him. He's one of my favorite defenders. Like, you know what I mean? As you know, and I've always said good things about him I used to say, give him time, and it's working out for him now. But like, there seems to be, like you said, all those players seem to be playing for the manager as well as. I know I said it earlier on, but it's obvious. Like they really have upped their game, in every position on that team, and it's a joy to see. You know, and look at Chalobah like that. Oh yeah, we knew he was there, but we didn't think he was going to explode onto the scene as the way he did. Like, you know, and it's real encouraging seeing that, you know, academy players coming up like that and, you know, doing what they're doing.
It's exciting. It's exciting. Carl's excited. No, you're not as excited, but it's.
No, I am, because I love football. I love coaches, and if you think about Chelsea, especially Christensen, when you look at him, he always had the ability to be a world-class player, because Definitely. When you seen him on his day, he was absolutely outstanding. But if you look in that Lampard era, he was either a 10 or he was a 5, and that was throughout the whole squad. You know what I mean? Yeah. But what happens with Tuchel? Tuchel goes in there and he raises everyone up to an 8, and then it's beyond the 8 is what he's pushing for. But it's across the board, because if you look at Chelsea, people talk about levels within a squad and levels within a team. You've no worries there at all, pulling one of those Lego pieces out and putting another one in with no fear at all. You know what I mean? Even looking at your goalkeeper situation, look at Kepa at the moment, how much he's changed. You know what I mean?
Ridiculous.
And he was getting driven to the airport by Chelsea fans not so long ago. Right. You know what I mean? Now he's in there, and you could look on a Saturday afternoon, and if you heard that Mendy had a problem and he was injured, Kepa's going in, who's worried? There's no issue. You know what I mean? And that's at the very basic level. So all these guys are operating at the same level under Tuchel, and he gives everyone the same opportunity. And then he picks what he wants on the day. But there's no gulf there. You know what I mean? There's no difference between Reece James and Kai Havertz, or between Timo Werner and Lukaku, or Christensen and Rudiger. They're all treated equally at the same level, and they all have the same opportunity. And then it's up to them to go and grab it. And it's the competition must be, like, as I said to you already in training, it must be incredible to be around that bunch of players, to be so competitive, to want to be on the pitch on a Saturday.
But that's what you want your team to be like, isn't it? You want your team to be competitive so that the best team turns up on the day. That's what you want. on every position.
It's very hard, Carl, to get that at the level where you have Chelsea. Like we spoke for years about how Man City had 2 11s, but Man City have never had 2 11s the way Chelsea have 2 11s. No, never at that level. Like you look at Man City, they always had a brilliant bench where they'd have 6 players that could go in and do a job. But if you look at Chelsea, I'm telling you, they have 11. They could field 2 11s in the Premier League, no problem.
Yeah. But they're brothers. Do you know what I mean? He's made them all become brothers. Like you look at, like we look at that picture behind us there again. You know, there's love in their eyes. Like, this is what I wanted to get on to next. I wanted to get on to the contract situation. There's 4 Chelsea defenders that are out of contract now in the summer, which is Thiago Silva, who has been, like I said, he's been. Listen, if he went tomorrow, I wouldn't care. The 2 years of service that this man has given us is
very beneficial. Yeah,
unbelievable. Then we've got Azpilicueta, the captain, Andreas Christensen, who we just talked about, and Antonio Rudiger. Now, I'll give my thoughts and opinions on this. I'll start with you on this one, Niall. Do you think there's any doubt that those 4 boys sign a new contract again? Now, it's possible with Thiago Silva because of his age that he said he wants to go home and, you know, he wants to give his best to his old club. You know, a lot of these Brazilians want to retire there. But do you think there's a possibility that there'll be another year in there? Because he doesn't look like he's lost a beat, to be honest with you.
I think he's enjoying life under Tuchel, and I don't think I get the draw of wanting to go back and finish a career there, but there's plenty of time for that. This guy is like he's royalty when it comes to
wine, isn't he?
But I think it's really important that he sticks around in terms of, you know, it's like that kind of like what we talk about James Milner being that great guy around the squad in terms of experience and stuff like that. I think he's the same type guy there where he's around those guys, and I'm sure when he's in training, he's nearly coaching and critiquing as he goes along, even though he's one of the players. And I'm sure he's had a huge part to play in the uplift of Rudiger and Christensen and guys like that and all. You know what I mean? His awareness, his reading of the game, his positional sense. I mean, he's like Van Dijk.
How he steps up. Like, do you ever notice the simple things? He steps up at a time when, and now I'm noticing like Rudiger steps up or Azpilicueta steps up. You know, if they see a danger. That's because he's going.
It's like when you're coaching a team and you're coaching young lads. I coach young lads under 19, and you're teaching them when it's time to press, when it's time to go, and when it's time to hold, and when it's time to settle in, and when it's time to push. And it's the same thing there. You know what I mean? It's just you just have a great blend there at the moment. And the thing about those guys that are out of contract, I mean, where else do you want to go? The Premier League is the best league in the world. It's the most visual league in the world. It's the biggest draw in the world. It carries the most money in the world and stuff like that. So what are you going to do? Real's not really an option because they're in the mud. Barcelona are in the mud. PSG are diabolical at the moment. So where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Are they going to drift off somewhere else? Where else is there to go? Like, you know what I mean? You've got Chelsea, who are the current European champions, who are top of the league in the Premier League at the moment. So where else are they going to go?
I saw the best one on the Liverpool Echo. I don't know how seriously you guys take that over at Liverpool. But I saw the best rumor was that Rudiger is wanted by Liverpool for an extra 30 grand. I'm like,
Rudiger would be wanted by any club.
Of course he would.
You know what I mean? Like if I wouldn't be upset if Antonio Rudiger had come to Liverpool at all.
Of course. But what I'm saying is the realism of that happening is kind of no. You know,
didn't Raiola ring us about taking Pogba?
That's very true. Yeah. No, I think with our defender situation, I think you're going to be looking at. I mean, Azpilicueta, I know that Barcelona have contacted him as well and wanted to make him kind of their new captain and all that kind of crack. And yeah, I don't. I'm the same.
He'll go into the Thiago. He'll go into the Thiago situation. He'll go on those rolling 1 years.
Yeah, and that's it.
And he might be used a little less. That's all.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it. To be honest with you, I think Thiago. I personally agree with you, Niall. I think Thiago Silva will see what's going on here, especially if Chelsea win the league and win a couple of other cups to go with it. There's no way he's going to want to leave that. You know what I mean? He just looks like he's fallen in love with that whole situation. What about you, Carl? You haven't talked about it.
I think he'll stay if the conditions are right. I wouldn't mind actually if he played another season or two, and then maybe start coaching for us.
I think that's going to happen. I do think
Yeah.
I do see him being a part of Tuchel's coaching team for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. As Noel said, maybe he is already kind of helping.
I think so.
But as regards to the other lads, I think Christensen will resign because like that he's now firing on all cylinders.
He's a Chelsea boy as well.
Yeah, Rudiger is the only one who I would have had doubts about. I always get the impression he wants to try as even though the Premier League's the best league in the world. If we win the league, he'll have won the league and the Champions League. He might want to go somewhere else. So he's the only one I'd have kind of not even concerns. I love him as you know.
No, you're making a good point. Yeah.
I think he'd probably be the only one that might want or consider leaving for a new challenge.
What do you think, Niall? Do you think the Bayern kind of project would entice him, or do you think no? Do you think he's just trying to get as much money as he can on his last big contract?
No, I think what it is I think he's a guy who's he's driven, and he wants to be successful. But I think if he's looking for a new challenge, I mean, is a new challenge going to Bayern Munich? I mean, where they generally what did they do? Did they win 5 or 6 trophies in one calendar year or something like that?
Yeah.
They slap up nearly everyone in the German league. I know it's a little bit on the edge at the moment and stuff like that, but where's the challenge in going to Bayern Munich? I mean, me and you could slot into the Bayern Munich team and we'd win a German league. You know what I mean? Where's the challenge for a guy who's at that level, who just won the Champions League, who's had a fresh breath of air put through his career? He was the outcast under Lampard. He's come back in. Tuchel has nothing but admiration for him. He's brought him back in and regenerated his career. I mean, if it had been still the Lampard era, I would have turned around and said, yes, of course he wants out. You know what I mean? Look, it's horrible. You know what I mean? But if you look at him now, he's never been as happier. He's never been as competitive. He basically has that position nailed down. Not too many people are going to be really challenging him for it, and rightly so. So why would he want to leave?
And he's still only 28. For a defender, that's peak years. You know what I mean?
He's very competitive, isn't he? I love his competitive streak.
Well, I mean, if you're around Thiago Silva, he could have another 8 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he's listening to Thiago Silva, you know what I mean? So
yeah. No, I like that. Let's kind of, we'll finish up now in a few minutes. Let's kind of look more at the forwards and kind of look at kind of how, because obviously we thought with Lukaku gone, we thought with Werner gone that things were going to go, we'd be struggling for goals. It's actually quite the opposite. I never thought. Kai Havertz, another player that some people have kind of went, and also we're going to talk about Jorginho as well. I mean, Jorginho, a player that I think unless you're really a footballing man, and I'm saying this to a lot of people here now, unless you're a real football man, you don't get what Jorginho does. So, don't pretend to be a football man if you don't understand Jorginho's role, because in a 2-man midfield, that's a very difficult role, right? Niall, you're a coach, you know that.
Listen, as I say to people who discuss Jorginho in that way, Makelele only became world class when he retired.
Exactly. And it's the same with Jorginho. Jorginho is absolutely world class. And I mean, to think that even Messi could possibly win the Ballon d'Or this year is just, that shows you how corrupt football is, in my opinion. Yeah. Because you can give it to Ronaldo then if you want, because at least he's had a bit of a season since joining United. But the Ballon d'Or is meant to be January to January. It's the year.
Yeah, but it also takes a retrospective look at your career, which is ridiculous.
I know it does.
You know what I mean?
So that's why Messi's there. Messi's there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Jorginho,
so it's a little boys' club in that sense.
Oh, it is the little boys' club. Yeah, it's the Bohemian Grove kind of stuff, and that's what we get. But I just thought I'd throw that in there for supposed football experts that think Jorginho isn't a good footballer.
Great player.
But think that Fred is good. Anyway, we move on. Any Man United fan, it's like any Chelsea fan, is just laughable at this point.
It's just not interesting anymore.
I love you, Darren. You know I'm only messing with you. So let's talk about the forward line, right? Niall, you had your doubts about Timo Werner this year. I think, to be fair, since he's been in, and obviously he's been out, we've still done pretty good. But when he was playing this year, good Lord, he was starting to get some pretty big goals for us. Obviously, the winner against West Ham, playing a little bit better for his country as well. Well, a lot better for his country as well. But also, him and Lukaku look to have linked up pretty well. And it shows how important he is, probably more so even than Pulisic, I would dare say. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of a different comparison, really. I mean, I still think the jury's out on Werner. And I know he came in with a huge reputation from the Bundesliga and stuff like that, and played in a kind of a different kind of pattern that yous are now trying to replicate slightly. But I never fault him on his work rate. I never fault him on his loyalty to his cause to try and improve and be better and stuff like that. But I'm just still not sure on him in terms of the level that you guys operate at. And I think what happens is, with him needing so many opportunities at time to get it home, I think it could cost you in the future if you're not careful. Now, don't get me wrong. I think under Tuchel, I think Tuchel will guide him and will coach him and will, manage him the right way and stuff like that. But I think if it doesn't click in really, really quick the way it should, the Timo Werner that we know exists or did exist, I think he could be one of those players in the squad that tries Tuchel's patience just a little bit too much.
See, I disagree.
That's just my summing up.
No, and I disagree. I think he's actually more important than any of the players, because if you look at when we win, where Tuchel goes and how many defenders he draws away from him because of his pace, I think it's so important. I think he's as important as someone like a Bobby Firmino. And don't forget, Bobby Firmino wears the number 9, but he doesn't score the goals that people expect of a number 9 to score. And that's not a knock. I'm just saying it's
the exact same conundrum. I mean, when you talk about Bobby Firmino, he should be producing so much more, but don't fault him on his work rate towards the team and stuff.
Exactly.
And I mean, the perfect example
I put them in the same kind of almost,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But I think at some point as well, when you're in the trenches and when you really need it, that's the time when you need that guy to step up. Now, there's no doubt about it.
A couple of times this year. That's why I'm saying before he got injured, he seems to be doing that, right?
I just think I agree with you there, but I think the expectation from you guys on Timo Werner should be much, much more. When you think about the squad that he's playing in, when you think about the coaching that he's receiving, when you think about the players that are around him, like, you can't fault him. I mean, he made the run. He was pivotal in the goal that won you the Champions League. If you think he drew the players away, that opened up for Kai Havertz to score the goal. But he was important as Kai Havertz in terms of that goal and winning the Champions League. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And that work is always brilliant, and we love to see that. But at some point, you have to look at your top 2 statistics when you're at that level. And at that Chelsea level, definitely. Because if you think about it, I know it's all well and good saying, and we said it during the weekend, we've spoke about this, I think 19 different goal scorers in the team, and whatever it is now, it's probably 38 goals at this stage so far this season at this stage.
But how many goals did Timo, and I have to be fair to Timo as well, and this is the truth, and it goes back to the FA and the fucking corruption within it. And like, we are the biggest sufferers as a top club of FA fucking decisions. We are. And whether anyone likes it or not, and we can call me a crybaby, that's fine. If you're listening to this show and you're not a Chelsea fan, call me a crybaby. But it's the truth. We are the biggest sufferer of referees within this league, without a shadow of a doubt. Niall, you've said it yourself. It's a fact. You've seen it at times where you're going, what the fuck is going on here? He had so many goals that were onside last year that were just ruled out for offside, because his hand against Liverpool is a perfect example. Literally a fingernail was offside.
Yeah, well, I think
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from, but like VAR is there for everyone, and it's a pain in the arse. And we all wanted it to come in, and then when it came in, we didn't realize what we were getting. And I think this year,
true.
I think
that is true. I hold my hands up.
I think this year, I think they're doing a better job on it, where they're doing the lines and the measurements, and it's all much clearer from where they're doing it this year. But I'd say to you guys as Chelsea fans,
except for the Anfield one, except for the Anfield one, well, I have you on here now. He just saw the hand on the ball and just went, "Yeah, that's a penalty." Didn't even look at it.
100%. But Cara, from your point of view, you guys were like, we were in for Timo Werner. We know that we had conversations, stuff like that, and then we backed off it, or he backed off us, whatever it was, and he ended up going to you guys. You guys were super excited. This guy was a Bundesliga megastar. He was a goal machine. Blah 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 blah, and all that. If you look back now on your excitement that you had then, and how much you were into Timo Werner and how excited you were from coming in, he has certainly at this stage flattered to deceive.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near where you thought he would be in terms of this goal machine.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's where I'm coming from when I talk about him. I never discredit his work rate. He's a workhorse in terms of the work that he does, in terms of his off-the-ball stuff that he does and everything else. But I still say at some point, if Lukaku was doing that job, you'd be going in on him hard if he wasn't delivering the goals. And I think with Werner, I think you have to take a similar approach. You have to eventually turn around and go, do the stats match the goal machine that we thought was there?
I think, Niall, when Werner came in, we were all excited. There's a big hoopla about this goal scorer. And I've said this to Ian a few times. I liken Werner, the way he's playing with Chelsea, the way Fernando Torres was, in that, he was brought in to score these hundreds of goals, but his work rate, like you said, it was phenomenal, and his work rate off the ball. And again, I know that's not what they're brought in for, but at the same time, I can really, really appreciate that work rate that he has. And you did say no one can knock his work rate, which is absolutely true. Yeah, I know we brought the likes of him in for scoring goals, but I'm hopeful. I'm still hopeful that it'll click with him. Maybe I'm a little bit easier going than a lot of Chelsea fans. I don't know, but I do like Werner. I think he's an honest player. I think he's hard working. The only thing I will say that I'm happy about him being injured is there's not as much fucking offsides now in the team, which is great. But he runs around like a headless chicken, and it's frustrating at times.
Yeah,
but I do like him. He's a genuine, hard-working player, and you can see he's happy to be at Chelsea, and it annoys him when he doesn't score or when he's all those offside goals. I mean, Jesus, if he had scored those goals, we'd be talking differently about him now. Obviously, I know that's an obvious thing to say, but
yeah, absolutely.
But what you were saying, it's a very different player than what we thought we were getting.
Yeah, see, it's a different environment if you think about it, because the spotlight doesn't have to go on him, because like Reece James is scoring goals, Jorginho scoring goals, Kovacic is even chipping in with goals. Everyone, Kai Havertz, they're all scoring goals. So, the spotlight doesn't have to be on him. But if you played Newcastle the other day and you finished 0-0 and Werner had been playing and he had 3 chances and he missed them, that's a very different conversation. You know what I mean? In terms of the outlook on how you look at the whole thing, you know what I mean? But because you have so many guys in there, I mean, literally everyone has scored at this stage, bar Mendy probably, I'd say. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it sort of overshadows the reliance on a Lukaku or on a Timo Werner. I mean, they've been out for 2 weeks or whatever it is now at this stage, and it's like nothing has gone away. You know what I mean? Like if anything, with those 2 boys out of the team, as you said, Carl, you're probably playing better football in terms of football in the moment than maybe Werner does stray offside a number of times and it breaks down the play, or Lukaku or whatever it is, you know what I mean? But with these guys, because you're operating a different system now and a lot of it's coming from deep, so it doesn't give you that offside kind of opportunity. You're playing a much better brand of football. It's more patient. Like you look at that Newcastle game the other day, there was no panic. There was no doubt Chelsea were going to win.
No.
It was just time and patience, and it will come. And it did come, and you ran out 3-0, easy winners in the end.
I think we're at a stage, Niall, where we're in. I think we're at a position we're in a luxury where we have, like you said, quality players in every position and players that can score from every position now. So we're not, like you say, we're not missing the strikers that much just yet. Now, of course, to have a proper team harmony, I would love to see them back, and when they come back, obviously, and start scoring. But it's a great position for us to be in, and I think every team would be envious of where we're at right now.
Yeah, well, it's a very scary position as well, because I was talking to Ian about this last week, and the problem is, if I'm sitting here now and I'm the manager of any of these other Premier League teams, and I'm sitting down and going, right, we have Chelsea on Saturday. What tactics do I deploy? Who do I pick up? Who's the danger? They're all the fucking danger. So where do you go? You know what I mean? So the thing about it is, you're trying to construct something to go head to head with Chelsea, and you're trying to think, well, this week, is it going to be Kai Havertz? Is it going to be Reece James? Is it going to be Thiago? Is it going to be Rudiger? Who's it going to be? Who's going to pick up? Everyone else sits back, lets people come forward, and how do you pick them up and stuff like that? So it's such a difficult conundrum when you're laying out a team against a Chelsea team like that, because you don't even know who he's going to pick. And no matter who he picks, it doesn't dilute the team in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah.
And that's a real problem for other Premier League teams. And that's put you in a position like the old Man United way, where you're nearly beating teams before you go on the pitch. And that's a very strong position to be in.
Great for us, not the other teams.
No, I think so. Because when I look at Burnley next week going into, 5 points ahead, of City, for example, that's going to be very hard for City to get back. Like, Niall, you said at the start of the season, if there becomes a little bit of a gap, I know there's not a huge gap between us, but there's a gap between us. There's 3 points.
Yeah.
Like, that's 3 points.
To me, if that gap goes beyond 3, it becomes a problem, because what happens is, if you go 5 points ahead of City, they're potentially looking at you having to get 5 draws.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, you're just not going to, it's unlikely that you're going to get slapped up by anyone. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, unless you get a flood of injuries, or something happens in Europe and guys get injured or whatever it is, or, you know what I mean? But you're not going to go out on any given week. It doesn't matter whether you're facing City or us or Arsenal or United or whoever it is. It's not going to be one of those things where you turn around and go, I fancy City today. Everyone is going to turn around in those games and go, I fancy Chelsea today. And then it's whether Chelsea performs or not. We've seen it in the City game. You can have a blip, but how often is that going to happen in a season?
And it's a 1-0, and I mean, it was a dodgy goal. You know what I mean? It wasn't like something it wasn't a hammering from City. It was a goal that got a deflection.
Happens.
You're kind of going, that happens.
I do think with the way he got it wrong in that game, though, City were impressive, and they did have other chances. I don't think the scoreline told the tale of it. But I do think, look, if you only had one bad day at the office in the season, it's not too bad, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
So far. Well, we had a bad day at the office against Juventus as well, but that's Italian teams as well. They smother you. They smother the life out of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's a different competition. You'll coast through that either way.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think in closing up, it's kind of who's been, Carl, let's all give our most, who's been the player that's impressed you most so far?
Okay, they've all, I'm really, really happy with how
it's true. It's a hard one. It's a hard one.
I have to say, I like Mendy. I think Mendy's doing fantastic.
He's been phenomenal. And actually, can we just have a conversation about Mendy and actually talk about how, this, I work with a lot of Brazilian guys, and they'll tell me how, no, the best 2 goalkeepers are Alisson and Edouard in the Premier League. I think Mendy is easily in that conversation. And I think if you're talking about actual goalkeeping, and doing your job, and forget about this ball passing, this goalkeeper that's able to pass the ball. The best shot stopper and the best actual goalkeeper on form right now is Edouard Mendy, and I don't think anyone would have doubts about that. Maybe Ted, because Ted always thinks that Mendy has a mistake in him. Ted, you're more than willing to come on the show. Come on. No, I love Ted. I just had to call him out on that. Ted Turner, even Niall couldn't believe that. He was like, "What? Mistake in him? Show me one."
But yeah, I think
that's when I was rallying towards the phone to find out all the clean sheets and everything. Going, where's this mistake you're talking about, Ted?
He's actually beaten. He's beaten Petr Cech on every single stat, and you're talking about Petr Cech, who was literally arguably the greatest Premier League goalkeeper of all time. He's definitely up there with Peter Schmeichel. So you can argue that, you know.
And of course, he's a nod from Petr Cech. Petr Cech was the one who was so
exactly. So I mean, Carol, first of all, and then I want Niall's opinion on this too, because obviously he loves Alisson and rightly so. But is it about time that we have this conversation of him being easily in the top 3 goalkeepers in the world right now?
Based on this season, yeah.
And last.
I mean, and last as well, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let's be honest. When we got him in, we didn't know we were getting as world of class of a player that we have. We really didn't. We knew he was good, but it had to be somebody good who to take over from what's his name? Fucking man. Kepa. I couldn't think of his name. But you know what I mean? And he has repaid us in spades. He really has. So he would be my player of the season so far.
Okay. Niall?
Yeah, I think he's an outstanding goalkeeper. There's no doubt about it, and he's 100% in the conversation. But I think isn't it brilliant that we follow teams in a league where we have these world-class players in there that are fighting tooth and nail to be in that conversation, you know what I mean? And I think he's outstanding, but I think the biggest benefit to Mendy as well is, I mean, if you think about when Mendy came in first, he didn't exactly set the world alight either, you know what I mean? No. With all that hassle that was there and all that upheaval at the back and stuff like that. But as soon as you settled that back line and as soon as those guys started performing, sure, I mean, his day is a handy day, really. He's very like Alisson in that way where he can have nothing to do for 85 minutes. And then that one moment he's called on, boom, and he's switched on and he makes it happen. And that's what world-class goalkeepers are, you know what I mean? They have very little to do for most matches. But once that moment happens, that's the difference between being in the conversation and not being in the conversation. And he has it in the bucket loads. Alisson has it in the bucket loads. Ederson has it in the bucket loads. Donnarumma has it in the bucket loads. Oblak has it in the bucket loads. There's about, at the moment, probably somewhere, that is your 5. And you probably pick out maybe another 1 or 2. But you've probably about 8 goalkeepers at the moment in the world who are absolutely another level. Phenomenal, and they're all in the conversation in around the same level, in the same way they operate and stuff like that. They're rarely involved in games. But I think, Ian, the point that I make to you as well, goalkeeping has evolved in such a way now that distribution is huge.
Oh no, I understand that. I understand that. Of course.
And that's a massive thing. And I think Mendy's very good at that as well. You know.
But I think what you look at with what Chelsea have made different for someone like Mendy is that the distribution for him is his backline. Yeah. Because of that tree, nobody has put that tree and perfected that tree like Chelsea have. Nobody. Since Antonio Conte, nobody has been able to perfect that tree because he can just pass it to someone like a Christensen or someone like a Thiago Silva, and that's it. Like his kicking isn't great. Like in fairness, Kepa, that's the one thing Kepa has over Mendy, is his distribution is far better. Now, don't get me wrong, Mendy's throwing is great, but his actual kicking isn't great. And I think that's what Ted was trying to say, was that his kicking isn't great. It can go to someone, but it's never cost us a goal. Do you know what I mean? Niall, based on that, who's been the standout player for Chelsea for you?
Definitely Jorginho, 100% Jorginho. Head and shoulders, I think, above anyone else at Chelsea. I think he was halfway out the door. I think he was highly frustrated in the Lampard era. I think he was practically walking in. Was it AC Milan he was going to or something like that?
Juventus,
was that where he was heading back to? Or Juventus, was it? It was one of the Italian teams anyway. And he was gone. He was gone without a shadow of doubt. And to see the turnaround in his career and the success that he has had and the level that he is playing at, you know me, I'm a Liverpool fan through and through, and I can't talk enough about.
Well, you actually sent me that video where he was crying when he won the the Champions League, and he was just saying like, no, but everyone doubted me. Like that was actually quite emotional.
Yeah, yeah, and I just think in terms of Chelsea, there, I think he's in terms of his story and his rise to that level. I mean, this is a guy who was in the Ballon d'Or conversation 100%. He's a guy. He was just voted. What was it? The best player or the best midfield? The best player.
Midfielder,
Best player.
wasn't it?
No, he was best player.
Midfielder was Kante for some reason,
Kante.
but he
That's
was
right.
best
That's
player.
right.
Yeah, which again is kind of weird in the way it makes sense. But I like the way they share it around. But I just think it's I just think to go from where he was, which was out the door, heading back to the Italian league, the frustration of being under Lampard at times must have been horrific on him. And to come back and to get a fresh breath of life, to win the Champions League, very unlucky in an FA Cup final, top four, top of the league now, doing really well in the Champions League again, playing brilliant football, brilliant coach around a brilliant squad, and to be so happy and so settled again. I think his story is phenomenal.
And he looks like a leader, doesn't he?
He is a leader.
In my opinion, he's the real captain. I mean, if Azpilicueta did go to Barcelona next year, I don't think you've really any trouble, do you?
No.
When you're captain, because he's your captain.
Look, you could throw 5 or 6 names there into a bag, pick out one, and you wouldn't be disappointed.
Thiago Silva.
Any of them. Any of them.
I'm going to concur with Niall. I think Jorginho as well. I'd love to say Kai Havertz and all, because I think Kai Havertz I think he's improved. A lot of people are expecting Kai Havertz to score 26 goals already in the season. And I don't know what people are watching when they're watching football. Maybe it's FIFA. Maybe it's the FIFA effect. It's all these stats that you're meant to base, good players on. But I think Kai Havertz, since he's had to lead that line, has been absolutely phenomenal. I think he's been phenomenal. I think Mason Mount, I mean, he's probably another player that I could say, look, Niall said it to so many players on this Chelsea team that you could just go. But I do think the one constant is Jorginho. And the thing is, when you're not looking at the player that will be giving you that consistency every week, then you know that you don't have to worry about that player. And that's what Jorginho is. He's that player that you don't need to look at. Again, he's another one of those players that I don't know what people want from him other than what he does. I mean, you can't take the ball.
He does what he does well. He does it well. What he does.
But you can't take the ball from him. He basically sets the tempo of that midfield. I mean, looking at him yesterday against, he's the best penalty taker on the planet. Sorry, Messi, but he is. But other than that, he just literally, he's always called, like, some of the balls, when he plays a ball through, it means something. He doesn't do it all the time purely but when he plays that little pass, he's almost like a mix, isn't he, of a Makelele and a Fabregas?
Yeah.
I think. His use of the ball is exceptional.
Yeah. Like, if he doesn't see a pass on, he'd pass it back. And maybe that's what people don't like. It's because they think he passes it back too much. And that includes my own, some of my own Chelsea people think that. But, passing it back sometimes isn't a bad thing if it means that you're getting your shape back. That's what a leader does,
If you're maintaining possession.
Keep the shape. Niall, you know this as a coach at the moment. Sometimes you pass it back.
Can't do anything. You can't do anything without possession.
Nothing. So
possession. And what people forget about is if he passes that ball back and that ball goes across the back line and out to Reece James, and Reece James makes a run, plays the ball into Havertz, Havertz squares it into someone in the middle and they score a goal. No one ever realizes that it started from the pass back.
Where did the play start from?
They don't go back that far.
Where did the play start from?
Yeah, everyone starts on about Reece James with his great pass, or Kai Havertz with his great pass that led to a goal. But no one ever remembers where it is. I told you already, Makelele became world class when he retired. People just didn't realize.
And they named the position after him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't mean it in the Chelsea fan base. I mean, when you look at other fan bases, when they talk about him now, they realise how good he was. Yeah. And I think Jorginho is going to be the same. I think Jorginho will have an outstanding career at Chelsea or wherever he goes. I think he will get plaudits at times. I think he'll be revered in the Chelsea fan base. But I think it's only when he retires and moves on, people will then call that position the Jorginho position, like what they did with Makelele. And it'll take time.
What did Pep Guardiola say? He goes, Jorginho is an artist. And don't forget who wanted Jorginho before Chelsea did.
Yeah. Look, the way to sum it up with Jorginho is, if you're discussing who you think is the most improved player and the best player in there, and he's ahead of N'Golo Kante in the conversation, then you've got a top-notch footballer. Because N'Golo Kante is outstanding as well.
Yeah, and then like you can put anyone beside Jorginho, Kovacic, Kante, and you know what the funny thing is, when I play FIFA, Jorginho is the first name there, and it's like, who do you play beside him?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's Loftus-Cheek, it's Kante, it's Kovacic, it's.
But I mean,
whoever.
even when you look at the future there, where you have Jorginho there, and as Carl said, if Kovacic goes off, I mean, the boy Conor Gallagher at the moment is outstanding. And then you've got Billy Gilmore, who's a very, very good player, but obviously picked the wrong loan move.
Well, he's the natural successor to Jorginho. Right?
Yeah, but that boy Gallagher is just, he's different level, isn't he? He's sauce.
He's Lampard, isn't he? He looks like Lampard in that sense. Yeah. He comes up with those goals. He reminds you of Frank Lampard.
His strength is unbelievable. And you just look at those two and look at those two. Look at Conor Gallagher and Billy Gilmore, and you guys just loan them out at a whim. You guys take them and educate them for a year, and we'll bring them back in after a year or two, and they'll be our new. They'll be our new Loftus-Cheek or our new whatever. You know what I mean? And it's just, I always say it about Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea in terms of their loan book and in terms of their projects and stuff like that, it's unbelievable. You know what I mean? It's just,
we're going to end this on me saying that, listen, to all the fans out there that have new owners, especially Newcastle fans at the moment, and to potentially you West Ham fans, you will never have an owner like Chelsea have an owner. It's a different level. What we've done is put together something that you can only wish. And I hope you follow the book. I hope you do, but there will just never be anything like that. That Cobham, that loan army is just phenomenal. And even the women are fucking, even the women are ruling.
I'd worry about this Newcastle takeover. The money that they have is just insane.
But I don't think we need to worry about it, you see, because it's not like before. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you can't just put Karim Benzema or anyone else into a team and expect them to just go and beat a Chelsea. It just won't work.
But you can give them time, and they can bring in a number of Karim Benzemas, and then they can be.
But guess what? So can Uncle Roman, because he's still worth 20 billion.
I'm very excited. Yeah, but this guy's worth 350 billion.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's still worth 20 billion. If you're telling me that a player's worth 100 million, and Roman goes, "Oh, so the rules are over now. Okay, so we don't have to financially fair play. Do you want to come to Chelsea or do you want to go to Newcastle? Pick one."
Well, here's the difference. Here's the difference between the two teams. Like Chelsea have superstars in that team already. Newcastle's going to have to start from the bottom up and spend a hell of a lot of money to get up into the mix for the top four.
Well, especially with Liverpool, Chelsea, Liverpool. Listen,
that won't be a problem to them.
What I will say is, I think Niall's right. I don't think it's going to be a thing. I mean, Newcastle will win the league in their lifetime, possibly. I don't know. But then it could be a situation where, like, you know, to all you Man City fans out there, you would pay me money now just to say you were a Champions League winner. But you won't be ever. Ever. You know what I mean? And like, because there's always going to be a Thomas Tuchel there that will go, yeah, great, no problem. You know? So
be certainly interesting to see who they get in after Guardiola, won't it?
Yeah,
I think they're on the downward spiral. To be honest with you, I think they're gonna suffer big. I mean, and the thing about it is, we've always said it. This whole conundrum of trying to pigeonhole how much people spend, it's wrong, and I understand it's also not a great idea that the bigger teams have more to spend than the younger teams. But if you actually look at it, Chelsea get a lot of shit over this. We literally kept a lot of that lower league level going by basically, putting players out on loan, signing some of these players from those teams, keeping them going. Like Abramovich has been an absolute godsend for the game.
Mm.
Listen, I say it to fan bases all the time, and I don't be disrespectful when I say it, but 14 teams feast at the table of 6 teams. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and in fairness,
that's no disrespect to any other team out there.
But Abramovich is one of the only owners that has fucking made sure it goes downhill as well. He really has. I mean, this is only something that a Chelsea fan would know, but in 2006, Grimsby were literally on the verge of bankruptcy and like not being existent. They literally we were playing them in the League Cup. We literally donated all the Chelsea jerseys to them, signed them, the whole team signed them, and it kept them afloat. Do you know what I mean? That was something Abramovich actually come up with, and apparently he gave them a few quid as well. So, this lad is the best owner that's ever come to our soil. Well, English soil, and I'm just gonna say that there, like Abramovich is the best owner out of all the takeovers. And Niall, I doubt you disagree with that.
Yeah, no, I think he's a footballing man, and he wants success, and he's ruthless as well. Like, don't. You see that Russian smile on his face there when he's there as well, and you think butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. He'd gut you in the tunnel in a second.
Oh yeah, fact.
And but I think, yeah, and I think, to be honest with you, in the UK, with the work he's done in the UK between charities and regeneration and everything else he's done, and like you spoke about with other teams in and all, and he's vilified in the UK. You know what I mean? It's shocking. Like, you know what I mean? It's just
purely political, unfortunately, and that's not a conversation that we need to have.
No.
Well, look, lads, I think that's been a nice show. It's something a little bit different. We had the relaunch. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a lot of these solo, but it's nice to have guests on and just kind of talk about it from a different angle. Carl, my brother, thank you very much. Niall,
thanks for having me on, man.
Of course, my brother.
Pleasure as always.
My pleasure to have you both on. So I suppose until the next time, let me hear that Chelsea roar.
Come on, Malmo.
Listen, until next time, you can follow us, of course, on the Dynamo Podcast Network. You can find the Chelsea Roar playlist if that is all you want to listen to. If you are a football fan, of course, you can catch Niall on the upper tier, which he has absolutely everything going there. You've got, if you're a Liverpool fan, please, I don't know where you're watching this far in if you're a Liverpool fan, but if you are, if you are, please do. But Niall's got absolutely everything. The Monday mashup, which is all of us basically talking absolute shite on a Monday, isn't that right, Niall?
That's it. Banter FC on a Monday night, yeah.
Banter FC on a Monday night. But most importantly, Dynamo Podcast Network. Like and subscribe. Comment on the video below if you think we're talking shit. If you think Jorginho is overrated, you're wrong. But tell us why we're wrong. That's it. We're over and out, guys, I think.
Nice one, man. Thanks again.
Super.